Lent my coworker $700. He ghosted me, showed up months later asking for more, then called me a dick when I said no. So I decided I'd never help anyone again, and my life instantly got better. I used to believe in helping people no matter what. If someone needed a hand, I'd give them both of mine. That was just who I was. But after this situation, I decided I would never help another person again. It started with my coworker, Brian. We weren't best friends, but we got along well enough. He had a way of always being just a little short on cash, a little behind on bills, always needing just a little help until payday. And because I was in a decent spot financially, I didn't think twice about spotting him here and there. $20 for lunch, a little extra when his car broke down, $100 once when his rent was due, and his paycheck was held up for some reason. It was always small, and he always promised to pay me back. But, of course, the paybacks never came. Still, I told myself it's just money, and I was being a good person. What's $100 between coworkers, right? Then came the big one. One Friday afternoon, Brian showed up at my desk looking worse than I'd ever seen him. He was pale, shaking, almost in tears. "Man," he said, voice full of desperation, "I really, really need your help." "Here we go again. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious," he continued. "But my bank account is frozen because of fraud. My landlord is threatening to kick me out. And if I don't pay at least half my rent by tonight, I'm going to be out on the street. I swear on everything, I'll pay you back the second my bank clears everything up." I should have said no. I should have been done. But instead, I sighed, pulled out my phone, and sent him the money. $700. He was grateful, so grateful I almost felt good about it. He even promised to pay me back that Monday. Monday came. No Brian. Tuesday, he showed up full of excuses. His bank was still figuring things out. Payday was Friday. He'd get me then. Friday came. Then the next Friday. Then another. By the third week, I stopped being polite. "Brian, where's my money?" He stammered through some story about unexpected expenses. But what really got me, that same night, I saw him on Instagram, out at a bar buying drinks for people, living it up like he wasn't supposed to be broke. That was the last straw. I confronted him on Monday, and he had the nerve to act offended. "Dude, are you really going to be weird about this?" I said I'd pay you back. The next day, he blocked me on everything. I was furious. But more than that, I was done. Done being the nice guy. Done bailing people out. Done letting guilt trick me into generosity. So now, if you need help, I hope you find it, but it won't be from me. I wish I could say that was the end of it, that I walked away, lesson learned, $700 poorer, but wiser. But life doesn't let you off the hook that easily. A month later, Brian got fired. Now, if you're imagining some dramatic downfall where karma finally caught up to him, I hate to disappoint you. He didn't get busted for stealing or scamming or anything satisfying like that. No, he got let go for something boring, like too many late arrivals and performance issues. It wasn't the kind of firing that comes with security escorting you out the door. It was the quiet kind that "we're going to have to let you go" talk in HR, followed by him packing up his desk, shaking a few hands, and leaving with that weird mix of embarrassment and relief. That should have been the last I saw of him. But then, 2 weeks later, guess who showed up at my apartment? I didn't even know how he got my address. Maybe from an old work roster, maybe from a mutual friend. I didn't care. I just stood there in the doorway, staring at him like he was a stray cat I'd fed once and couldn't get rid of. "Hey man," he said, shifting his weight like he knew this was a long shot. I just wanted to say, I feel bad about everything." "Oh, do you?" I said, arms crossed. Yeah. I was a mess back then, I see that now. But I'm turning things around, I swear. I got a job interview lined up, and as soon as I get my first check, I'll pay you back. Every penny." I just stood there, staring at him. I didn't believe a word of it. But then, of course, came the real reason he was there. "In the meantime," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I was wondering if you could spot me just a little, like just enough for gas so I can make it to the interview. I swear this is the last time." I laughed. Not a real laugh. One of those short, humorless laughs that happen when you realize someone truly has no shame. "Brian," I said, looking him dead in the eye, "you're never going to pay me back. You know you're never going to pay me back. So why would I give you more money?" His whole face changed. He went from pleading to pissed in half a second. "Wow," he said, shaking his head. "That's how it is? That's how it is?" You're seriously going to be a dick about this? Oh, I'm the dick, I said. I gave you $700, and you ghosted me. And now you want more. He muttered something under his breath, something like unbelievable, like I was the one being unreasonable. And then, the cherry on top, he actually had the audacity to say, "It's not even that much money, dude. You're acting like it's some huge deal." That was it. That was the moment I decided in my soul that I was done helping people. Forever. I didn't argue, didn't explain myself, didn't waste another breath on him. I just shut the door in his face. And you know what? It felt amazing. I heard him curse as he walked away. And for a second, I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered all the times I'd stuck my neck out for people like him, thinking I was doing the right thing, only to be taken for a ride. No more. No more lending money. No more being a good guy. No more guilt-tripping myself into generosity. If you're drowning, I hope you know how to swim. Because I'm done saving people who'll only pull me under with them. That was the last time I saw Brian in person. For a while, I half expected him to come back, maybe try some grand apology or guilt-trip me into changing my mind. But no, he disappeared just as easily as he had before, like a cockroach that scurried away when the lights came on. And honestly, I was fine with that. I went back to my life, a little lighter, a little smarter. I started seeing things differently. At work, I stopped being the guy who covered shifts for people who just needed one favor. I stopped being the friend who always picked up the check because it's no big deal. I stopped feeling like I owed the world something just because I had a little extra to give. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. Nobody really cared. Nobody treated me differently. The world didn't stop spinning because I stopped bending over backward for people. In fact, if anything, people started respecting me more. It was like the second I stopped being a pushover, people suddenly saw me as someone worth treating well. I wish I could say that was the end of the lesson, that I walked away a new man, never looked back. But life had one more test for me, the one that almost got me. A year passed. Life was good. I had more money in my account, more peace in my mind, and fewer headaches from other people's problems. Then one day, my cousin Jake called me. Now, Jake was family. And family is different, right? Jake wasn't a bad guy. He was just the kind of guy who always seemed to have something going on. Car trouble, job trouble, girl trouble. If there was a way to make his life harder, he'd find it. So when he called, I knew it wasn't just to catch up. I answered anyway. "Hey man," he said, sounding way too friendly. "How's it going?" "Good," I said, already bracing myself. "What's up?" Well, he let out a dramatic sigh. "I hate to ask, but I'm in a bit of a situation." Of course he was. My car broke down, and I really need to get it fixed to make it to work. If I don't get it fixed today, I might lose my job. I closed my eyes. Here we go again. I just need like $300. Not a huge amount. Not 700. But I knew better now. "Sorry, man," I said, keeping my voice even. "I can't help you." There was a pause. "What do you mean?" I'm not lending money anymore." "You're serious?" His voice got tight, like he couldn't believe I'd actually said no. "Yeah," I said. "Serious." A long silence. Then finally he sighed. "All right," he said. "I get it." And that was that. No begging. No guilt trip. No tantrum. Just an acceptance that I wasn't that guy anymore. And for the first time in my life, I realized something. The only reason people kept taking from me was because I kept letting them. But now, I say no. And let me tell you, nothing has ever felt better. It's been a couple of years now, and I've stuck to my rule. No more lending money. No more rescuing people from their own messes. No more bending over backward for folks who wouldn't lift a damn finger for me. And you know what? My life has never been better. My savings account is healthy. My stress levels are low. And I have a radar now, a sixth sense for people who come around only when they need something. I can spot them a mile away, and the moment I do, I shut that door before they even get their foot in it. I've also learned something interesting. When you stop being the helper, you find out real fast who actually cares about you, and who only cared about what you could do for them. I've lost some people along the way. Old friends who suddenly stopped calling when they realized I wasn't a human ATM. Family members who grumbled about how I'd changed. Even coworkers who used to buddy up to me suddenly had nothing to say when I wasn't the one offering favors. And honestly, good. Because the people who stuck around, the ones who still call, still invite me out, still checking on me without needing something, those are my real friends. That's my real family. And you know what else? Ever since I stopped handing out free rides, people have started figuring out their own damn problems. Turns out, when you're not around to fix everything for them, they manage. Brian? Never paid me back, but he found a new job. Apparently, he's doing fine. Guess he didn't need me so badly after all. Jake? Borrowed money from someone else, then magically figured out how to budget better. And all those coworkers who used to ask me for lunch money? Funny thing, they still eat every day. So now, when someone comes to me with that look, that, hey, can I just ask you something real quick? Energy, I just smile and say, nah, man, I can't help you. And then I go about my day. No guilt, no stress, no regrets. Because I've finally learned the most important lesson of all. The best way to help some people is to let them help themselves. It's funny, looking back, I used to think being a good person meant always saying yes. I thought it meant showing up, giving, sacrificing, proving I cared through my willingness to be there for others, no matter what. But the truth? Being a good person doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of you just because they say they need help. And most importantly, it doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. I won't lie and say it was easy to change. The first few times I said no, it felt wrong, like I was being selfish. But then I realized, why was I the one feeling bad? Why wasn't it the people asking for too much? Why was I the one expected to carry their problems while they went off and made the same mistakes over and over? Once I started seeing it that way, everything became clear. And now I don't waste my time on people who only see me as a resource. I invest in the people who give back. The friends who check in just to see how I'm doing. The family members who don't just reach out when they need a favor. The coworkers who don't expect me to pick up the slack they created for themselves. And most of all, I invest in me, because after years of putting everyone else first, I finally realized I deserve better. So if you're reading this and wondering if you should stop being that person too, the one who always says yes, always gives, always bails people out, let me save you the trouble. Stop. The people who truly care about you will still be there. The ones who disappear, they were never worth your time in the first place. And as for the ones who try to make you feel bad for choosing yourself, shut the door. Trust me, it feels amazing. Next story. Married my wife, expecting a partnership, ended up funding her vacation while she called me controlling. When I finally put my foot down, she said if I really loved her, I wouldn't care about the money. Look, I love my wife. I really do. But I'm starting to feel like an ATM with a wedding ring. A little background. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, Lisa, 31F, for 5 years. When we got married, we had an agreement, financial independence. We both worked, we both had our own accounts, and we split expenses fairly evenly. Nothing complicated, no drama. Then about 2 years ago, Lisa decided she wanted to quit her job. She was stressed out, burnt out, and miserable. I totally understood. She was in a demanding field, and I saw firsthand how much it drained her. At the time, she told me she just needed a short break to reset and figure out her next steps. I supported her. I told her to take some time to breathe, maybe pick up a hobby, do some soul searching. We could afford for her to step back for a little while because my job covered our essentials. But I made it clear that I expected her to get back into the workforce at some point. Well, 2 years later, that short break has turned into what feels like a permanent vacation. Lisa has not worked a single day since she quit. At first, she was job searching. Then, she was figuring out what she really wanted to do. Then, she started considering going back to school. Now, I don't even know. Every time I bring it up, she has an excuse. The job market is terrible. I don't want to settle for something I'll hate. Maybe I should focus on personal growth for a while. Meanwhile, I am paying for everything. Rent, bills, groceries, vacations, her entire lifestyle is funded by me. And it's not like she's living modestly. She still shops like she has an income. She still gets her nails done, gets takeout for lunch, and insists on weekend getaways because we deserve a break. I tried to have an honest conversation about it last week. I told her that while I love supporting her, I never signed up to be the sole provider indefinitely. I reminded her that our original plan was for her to take time off, not retire in her early 30s. She did not take it well. She accused me of being unsupportive and controlling. She said that I should want to take care of her, that marriage is about partnership, and that if the roles were reversed, she would support me without question. She even implied that my issue with it wasn't financial, but rather that I resented her for not being as stressed as I was. That part stung, because honestly, maybe she's not wrong. I am stressed. I'm working long hours while she sleeps in. I'm skipping little luxuries so we can keep our savings intact while she's browsing for new skincare products. I feel like I'm working for two people, and one of those people is lounging on the couch watching reality TV. And yet, I feel guilty for feeling this way. I don't want to be the guy who tells his wife she has to work. I don't want to reduce our marriage to an argument about money. But at the same time, I didn't agree to financially support an able-bodied adult forever. So, am I a bad person for not wanting to pay my wife's expenses anymore? After our conversation, Lisa gave me the silent treatment for a full day. Normally, she's not the type to hold a grudge, but I guess telling her that I don't want to fund her indefinite sabbatical hit a nerve. By the second day, she started acting overly nice, making my coffee in the morning, offering to cook dinner, which to be fair, she rarely does, and even rubbing my shoulders after I got home from work. At first I thought, okay, maybe she gets it. Maybe she realizes I'm not being unfair. Then came the bombshell. She sat me down and said she had a solution to our problem. Instead of going back to work, she wanted to start an online business. I immediately got a bad feeling. Now, I'm all for entrepreneurship if it's done responsibly. But Lisa has never had a business-oriented mindset. She has no experience, no real plan, and no product. Just a vague idea about content creation and starting a brand. And of course, her business plan involved me funding her startup costs. I asked her for specifics. What kind of content? Who's the audience? How does she plan to make money? What's the timeline for profitability? She had zero answers. All she knew was that she needed a new laptop, a home office setup, and, get this, a couple of months to focus on building the brand before we expect any income. I nearly lost it. She had basically rebranded doing nothing as a business venture. I told her flat out that I was not going to bankroll a project that had no structure, no plan, and no guarantee of ever making money. If she wanted to start a business, she needed to fund it herself, get a part-time job, save up, and then go for it. Her response? This is why women feel unsupported in marriages. Oh, my God. She turned it into some kind of gendered issue, as if my unwillingness to throw thousands of dollars into her hypothetical business was some sort of deep-seated misogyny. I reminded her that I did support her 2 years ago when she needed a break. But this wasn't a break anymore. This was her trying to avoid responsibility while calling it entrepreneurship. She stormed off. Since then, things have been awkward. She's still not working. I'm still paying for everything. And now, on top of that, she's acting like a martyr. She sighs dramatically when she looks at job listings. She makes passive-aggressive comments like, I guess I'll just have to take any job, even if it kills my soul. She even made a snide remark the other day when I bought a new pair of running shoes. Wow, must be nice to spend money without someone questioning it. I'm getting to my breaking point. I don't know if this is something we can work through, or if this is a fundamental incompatibility that's only now rearing its head. I love Lisa, but I'm starting to realize that we might have very different definitions of what a partnership looks like. I'm honestly at a crossroads. Do I keep pushing her to get a job and risk being labeled the bad husband? Or do I let this resentment fester until it explodes? Because right now, I feel like I'm being taken for a ride. And I don't know how much longer I can pretend that's okay. Well, it finally happened. After weeks of tension, passive-aggressive comments, and Lisa continuing to act like I was the villain in some Lifetime drama, I finally snapped. It was over something small, because isn't that always how it goes? I came home from work exhausted, saw a bunch of packages at the door, and immediately got that sinking feeling. Sure enough, Lisa had gone on another online shopping spree. Clothes, skincare, some fancy organizer for her home office that she still hadn't used for any actual work. I picked up the receipts, walked into the living room, and, no joke, Lisa was lying on the couch, watching Netflix, eating takeout that I also paid for. Something inside me just broke. I didn't yell. I didn't even sound angry. I just asked, "Lisa, when do you actually plan on getting a job?" She groaned. "Ugh, not this again." "Yes, this again," I said, holding up the receipts. "You're still spending money like you have an income." We agreed this break would be temporary. It's been 2 years. I need a real answer. "When do you plan on contributing financially?" Instead of answering, she rolled her eyes. "God, you sound just like my dad." That was it. I told her, flat out, that I was done subsidizing her lifestyle. That I didn't sign up for a marriage where I worked myself into the ground while she played house with no actual responsibilities. That I needed a partner, not a dependent. And then she said the words that made me realize this wasn't fixable. "If you really loved me, you wouldn't care about the money." I just stared at her. It wasn't about the money. It was about respect, about effort, about the fact that a marriage is supposed to be two people building a life together, not one person coasting while the other carries all the weight. I told her I needed some space and when to stay with my brother for a few days. That's when reality really hit me. I wasn't happy anymore. Lisa and I had become two completely different people. She wanted to be taken care of. I wanted a partner who pulled their weight. She wanted me to be happy, supporting her indefinitely. I wanted her to want more for herself. She saw me as a provider. I saw her as someone who used to be my equal. After a lot of thinking, I made my decision. I sat her down, told her I loved her, but I couldn't do this anymore. That our visions for marriage just weren't compatible. That I felt more like her father than her husband, and I refused to live that way for the rest of my life. She cried. She begged. She promised she'd start job hunting, that she'd change, that she'd do better. But the thing was, I didn't believe her. If she really wanted to change, she would have done it before I had to threaten to leave. I filed for divorce last week. I'm heartbroken, sure, but I also feel like I can finally breathe again. So, am I a bad person for not wanting to pay my wife's expenses? Maybe in her eyes, but in mine, I just reclaimed my future.